So let's continue our video tutorial with part 10, and this will actually show you how to create a drop-down list on an edit view. In other words, when we're adding a student and we type in their information, we want to be able to do a drop-down list for their major so that they don't have to type in IS or AC or whatever code. We can do a drop-down list and show the full word. And it's really easy to do. After you've done all the database stuff, like your connection string, your DB context, your models, and in that model you map specific model to a table, which we did for our major table, then we simply have to use our view bag. Now we're just going to use our view bag for the drop down, and that's because there's not many records in there. If you have a bunch of records, which for drop down list you usually don't, you might want to go create what they call a view model. In our case, when it's something simple like number of majors, we're just going to have a view bag. So how do we do that? Let's go ahead and go to our controller for students. And within our controller, we want to drop down to the action method where we do our edit. And this is the HTTP GET for the edit. And within that edit, all we have to do is specify our view bag. And we're going to call this majors. You could call it anything you want. And then we're going to set that equal to our DB context variable, which points back to the database and the database sets. And there's actually a set in there called major, which we map to our majors table in the model. And then we just simply want to call the toList method. And so this says, go out to the database, go to the majors DB set, the majors table, grab all the records and return them as a list and stick them in the majors attribute for the view bag. So that will have all the majors in it. Now all we have to do is go to our view for edit. So we go to our view, student, edit. And currently, if you remember when we made this before, we said in our edit, we are going to get the first name, the last name, the enrollment date, the GPA, major ID, and major description. Well, we really don't want them to type in major descriptions, so I'm going to delete that part, the major description, out of the view. So now it's just the major ID. And in that major ID, what we want to do is the following. We're going to go ahead and still let it display the label for the major ID, which comes right from the model. And remember, we said back in the model for the major ID that it would use major space ID for displaying that name. Back in the view, instead of doing an editor for, an HTML helper editor for, we want to do a drop down list for. So this will now go create a drop-down list HTML tag. Once again, you specify the linking field for that tag. And then here, we'll go ahead and delete everything after the word new. And we're now going to specify that it's going to get its data from a select list. And we use the view bag majors attribute that we just created. And then you say, what's the key field in that list? The key field is going to be major underscore ID. Make sure you're spelling these all correctly. And the lookup field, or the actual field that we display, will be the major description. So this now says, instead of having an editor box, we'll have a drop-down list linked to the major ID in the model. We will go use the view bag, display the major description, and when they click on one of those, we'll return back the major ID. So let's go ahead and save that. We'll run it. And it's going to go ahead and take us to our edit screen. Sorry, it takes us to our index screen, which shows us the list of the records. And so let's look at Billy Ray Bob. Currently, he's an IS major, and we show the major description on that list. We really don't want to show some of this stuff when we go to edit. So let's click on edit, And before on the edit, you could actually see the major description showing up. Well, now we have a drop-down list. And I could click on that down arrow and choose accounting. Click save. Go back to the list. It's now changed to accounting. Click on edit one more time. Change it back to information systems. That works. Edit. I could come to here and actually type the first letter, A, or backspace, I. Enter. Save. And that's all you have to do to make a drop-down list. We just use the view bag. So once again, take a quick look at the code that's used for it. And remember that the first thing you have to do is go modify the controller to set up a view bag with all the records of the lookup table you want to work with. And then go to the edit view and change the editor for to be a drop-down list, working with the view bag, displaying the description, which is the second parameter, and the first parameter is the linking field or the key field.